नमस्कार एंड गुड मॉर्निंग टू एवरीबॉडी। आज हमारा तृतीय नवरात्रा भी है, उसकी भी आपको सबको शुभकामनाएं। Before me, I have a very distinguished people sitting before me, Justice Mulchand Garg, and I had the occasion to appear before him while he was a district judge as well as the judge of the Delhi High Court. शेखर जी को भी नमस्कार, हमारे सीनियर एडवोकेट हैं। नागपड़े साहब जो भी शायद से बाहर गए हैं। It is the first session and I see that most of you are, I was told that you are law students, I presume. And it is a good because now I am into my 23rd year of practice. 1995 से मैं practice कर रहा हूँ और हमारे पूरे बैच में कैंपस लॉ में सिर्फ 30 या 32 गर्ल्स थी और आज की डेट में मैं देख रहा हूँ कि और ऑलमोस्ट इक्वल, मे बी मोर देन 50%, एंड दैट इज अ वेलकम साइन। एंड वन ऑफ द रीजन वाज दैट इन आवर टाइम्स वी डिड नॉट हैव द बेनिफिट ऑफ अ 5-year कोर्स, वी हैड द बेनिफिट ऑफ अ 6-year कोर्स, 3 years graduation and then 3 years law if you wanted to do. And by and large most of the people who could not get into civil services, तो वो सोचते थे चलो कि लॉ भी ले लीजिए यूनिवर्सिटी में, पोस्टों का कमरा भी मिल जाएगा। But today what I see is that people who are generally interested in law and who want to practice law are coming in these courses. So that is a welcome sign. And what the organizers have given us is, you see that talking about locating Indian constitutionalism. So by now you must have realized that you see constitution in itself is a very dry and a boring subject. So as a student आपको समझ में नहीं आता, आप समझते साहब कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन है, क्लास में भी हमको लेक्चर्स मिलते हैं, देयर मस्ट बी सम प्रोफेसर, आवर टीचर मस्ट बी सेइंग दिस इज कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन. But over the period you see I have realized that law itself, that is why they say you practice law, you practice medicine, right? So until if you keep on sitting in your drawing rooms and writing something about law and this and that, उससे मजा नहीं आता. And I am a hardcore litigation lawyer, क्योंकि दिन में जब तक मैं एक दो केस बहस ना कर लूँ तो मुझे रात को प्रॉपरली नींद भी नहीं आती है. तो मुझे लगता है यार आज का दिन तो मेरी जिंदगी से बेकार हो चुका है. Now there are certain things which I'll speak about which are there on the record, and there are certain things which what is to be done about them. So you see, locating Indian constitutionalism is the topic, and the first thing that comes to the mind is Indian, that is Bharat, and that is defined in the constitution also. And the second thing which would come is the constitution in India that was given to us by the 4 founding fathers on 26th of November 1949, because that was the day when the Constitutional Assembly or the Constituent Assembly adopted it, and ultimately it was given to the nation on 26th of January 1950, which we know that we celebrate as our Republic Day. And it is the world's largest written constitution with almost 448 articles. So therefore, you see, somebody might have told you, you see, if you join law, sky is the limit. But if you come to law, then the sky for the law is limitless. You will have number of senior advocates, lawyers practicing in different branches of law, different fields of law. And to my experience, nobody can claim that he is an expert in each branch of law. So therefore, every branch of law will have its different lawyers who will be practicing on the MSCT side, who will be practicing on the labor side, some will be practicing constitution. Constitution mainly you will find them in the Supreme Court and the High Court, and rent laws, civil laws, matrimonial laws. There are so many laws in whichever you wish to feel like you can specialize. And we must also make a mention to the great son of India, that is Dr. B.R. Ambedkar, or B.R. Ambedkar as he is known, who was the chairman of the drafting committee. Now, coming to the preamble, that is the topic given to the panelists by the organizers. And the Constitution of India reads, although you might have read, but it was only just a repetition of it, that we, the people of India, having solemnly resolved to constitute India into a sovereign socialist, secular, democratic republic, and to secure justice, liberty, equality, fraternity. So these are the main contours of the Constitution. And in each of the things, you will find that all these things have to stand the scrutiny of law. if they do not stand the scrutiny of law, if any rule, regulation, law that is made right from a panchayat to the parliament, if it does not stand the scrutiny of law, of the constitution, it will be struck down by the High Court or by the Supreme Court as otherwise as the case may be. Now, I will not go into the details. You as law students would certainly study upon them if it is your interest upon all those things. As to what has happened or what has been done with the constitution, Mr. Saxena spoke to you on that. But I'll deal with some parts as to how to interpret the same for our future, for our present scenario and for our future generations to come. And the guiding force for the same is again the preamble. You will have to come back to the preamble all over again. Now the question would arise is that how to balance the delicate nature of the social, economic and political policies, which is the key to the progress of the country. And this is the most important binding factor of the country and for the society as a whole. कि साहब इस देश को, इस समाज को हमने किस तरह से बांध के रखना है, और उसके लिए भी आज की डेट में हमको कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन के पास बार बार जाना पड़ता है और जाना पड़ेगा, बिकॉज आई थिंक दैट इज वन ऑफ द बेस्ट थिंग्स दैट हैज हैपेंड टू आवर कंट्री आफ्टर इंडिपेंडेंस, एंड समाज के लिए भी और सोसाइटी के लिए भी इट इज वन ऑफ द गुड थिंग्स, बिकॉज इन अर्लियर टाइम इफ यू सी व्हाट वाज द कंसेप्ट ऑफ नेशन, it was a loosely defined, which was being ruled by the kings for their own subjects. But today, and obviously then you see you have this concept of security, social security and all those things, and since you are not bound as a nation, and therefore history will tell you such and such part went away, such and such part went away, and this is this period of time and such, and recently was the partition of India into Pakistan and Bangladesh, subsequently Bangladesh, and therefore we have more such opportunities and more such challenges, and how to look at them, and therefore the constitution will help you in all perspectives. And herein I would like to say about the principles of embodiment of the Bharatiya values in the Constitution of India. In my little experience of all these years, according to me, law is common sense. If you have common sense, which everybody has, you will automatically feel what is your duty towards your person sitting right next to you. You will feel what is your duty towards your countrymen, towards your parents, towards your brothers, sisters, and society as a whole. So if you are well versed in that, if you have that basic little common sense, according to me that is law. Because our culture does not tell us to go against anybody unnecessarily and without any basis. Now here I would like to discuss the embodiment of Bharatiya values. Some people may take, when I talk about dharma, I talk about your duty and not about religion at all. Religion is something different. We do not talk about that at all. It is only your duty towards your fellow citizens and all those things. And the oldest thing, if you look at our culture, and when we say that, you see, today we are living in Kali Yuga. Initially you are in Satyug, then came Treta, then came Dwapar, and now we are in Kali Yuga. And the biggest, we have got Ramayana from the Treta Yuga. And if you look at Ramayana, don't look at it from a religious perspective. Leave the religious perspective out of the matter. And normally you would have seen as children, or otherwise we also see in our homes, when we having some program or some functions, हम लोग सुंदर कांड का पाठ करते हैं. अब उसके अंदर बहुत सारी चीजें आती हैं, तो साहब सुंदर कांड का पाठ जो है वो हमारे कॉन्स्टिट्यूशन में कैसे आएगा? अब उसमें से मैं सिर्फ 2 प्रसंग आपको दूंगा, and you will realize that you see how those things were there even prior to when Ram was born, where you have Valmiki Ramayana and so many Ramayanas have been written. And in that you will see that when Hanuman ji goes to Sita Mata and says, look, I am hungry, I want to have something. She says, all right, there are so many fruits around, trees around, you want to have whatever you want to have, you have it. and he has those fruits, and by having those fruits he also displaces certain trees, he takes off the Ashok Vatika of Ravan, and Ravan comes to know about it, and he sends his soldiers. That is the act of the state, that go and catch hold of a person who is committing some sort of a crime, and वो किसी के काबू ही नहीं आते हैं, वो उनके सैनिकों को भी मारते हैं। तो फिर रावण को जब पता चलता है तो वो अपने बेटे को, मेघनाथ है या इंद्रजीत, उसको कहते हैं कि आप जाइए और उसको लेके आइए। तो हनुमान जी फिर भी उनके काबू में नहीं आ रहे हैं। तो इंद्रजीत क्या करता है, ब्रह्मास्त्र निकालते हैं कि इससे ऊपर तो वो शिव जी का बनाया हुआ, ब्रह्मा जी का बनाया, इससे ऊपर कौन जाएगा, तो मैं तो पकड़ लूंगा इसको। तो उस समय तुलसीदास जी अपने उसमें लिखते हैं कि ब्रह्म अस्त्र ही साधा, कपिमन कीनी विचार, ब्रह्मसर जो ना माने महिमा मिटिया पार, which means that he subjects himself to the hegemony of that weapon, because as God he could have broken it away, but he says no, there is a law which has been framed and I have to submit myself to that law. The second thing is, now Hanuman ji is tried before Ravan. Ravan is holding the court, he has his mantris with him, he has his subjects with him, and Hanuman ji is standing over there as an accused before him. So he says, well, you have destroyed this, and therefore I punish you with death. Now Vibhishan, who is also the younger brother and also the secretary or the minister, he says, Niti Virodhana Marya Duta. It would be against the law, against the policy to kill an ambassador, because he has said that he is an ambassador, he is a Ramdut, he is an ambassador of Lord Ram, who is another king, and therefore, now in those days there was no Geneva Convention. So therefore, from where did this policy come? So my point is that you see, these values were already enshrined over there, enshrined since time immemorial, and those have come to us through our genes, through our blood. So therefore, once he says he is an ambassador, please don't kill him. So, but the king is still infatuated. He says no, but he has destroyed it. So he says, all right, I will not kill him, but burn him. Throw another way of killing a person. And then what happens? That is not my point of discussion. My point of discussion is that in all these things, there is an element of law. There is an element of basic justice. And that is what we have to imbibe, whether as lawyers, and tomorrow some of you might become judges, district court judges, high court judges, and so on and so forth. So therefore, the embodiment of Bharatiya values is there in our constitution. And in future also, such values will define the sustainability of our people over a period of time, and as well as the culture. Now coming to the preamble, you see, as I said earlier, that it is a sea, and therefore I will be only touching the broad contours. I will not be touching it as a huge subject, and can go on for months and years together. Now the first thing is, when we the people of India have given ourselves justice. Now there are three components to justice if you will see the constitution. That is social, economical, and political. And these are the basis of livelihood of a man, livelihood of a civilized person. And therefore, the overall bearing of our ethos is justice. The foremost idea is to find the truth. As to what is the truth? A truth for a plaintiff may be A, but the truth for the defendant may be B. So therefore, as a judge or as a lawyer, you have to balance them, and you have to see as to who is saying the truth or what is nearer to the truth. इसलिए हम कहते हैं कि साहब सच्चाई की महत्वता है, सच्चाई का महत्व है, उससे ऊपर नहीं हो सकता है. Without the concept of justice, we would be failing as a society, and therefore we have evolved a concept of न्याय मम धर्म, कि मेरा ये धर्म है, duty. To secure justice not only for the purpose who are equal in any given circumstances, but for the last man standing in the social hierarchy. Now coming to the economics parts, everybody needs livelihood. The economy of the country may go from this angle to that angle. That is for the economists to decide. But the basic thing is that everybody must have food, shelter, and clothes. So therefore, that is the endeavor of the constitution. As Mr. Saxena said, you see, it is almost like a political philosophy also. Yes, it is a political philosophy, because ultimately, when you talk about the rule of law, the rule of law means rule established by law, the procedure established by law, and therefore you cannot go beyond that. But for that, there is a misconception or a conception or a perception that you see there is a political hegemony and that everybody is subservient to the political class. And from the outside world, if you see that, yes, it is the legislature, again, is the domain of the political class. The executive, again, the political will interfere. And even the armed forces of the union or the state, as the case may be, all the three services chief will stand behind the political head. And therefore, the perception becomes that you see everybody is subservient to the political class, and therefore, turn politics. And therefore, law is one of the meatier subjects to go in that direction. But you must also remember that that political class or the head is subservient to the rule of law. So therefore, the rule of law is bigger, or the concept of law will ride over everybody else. Unlike which was available before the crown, that the crown and the king can do no wrong, the sun never sets on the British Empire. So that was their philosophy. This is not our philosophy. We have to tone down the constitution to our values. That is the point. And then, you see, in social, like marginalized, backtrodden people are there, then you see the 50% of the work class is women. And therefore, their rights, I will not go into what is happening, that is for all to discuss. But in the matter of framing the law, or in the matters of coming to frame the policies, their role is also very important. Similarly, you see, we have given reservations also to the downtrodden, especially the SCs, STs and all the OBCs and all those. And now, there is a recent, because you will read some judgments, in 2006, M. Nagaraj case came, and we talked about reservation and promotion. Now, as recently as of 23rd of August 2017, there was an office memorandum by the DOPT which was struck down by the High Court, and then people will go. So therefore, reservation and promotion is a big issue, and we have to do something about that. Now that has again to be done by the legislature, to how to do that or how not to do that. That was followed from Indira Sahni's case. So therefore, to keep, if you don't address these issues, then there will be upheaval in the society. And the basic issue is how to keep the society in wraps, not in wraps by tying them, but in a holistic manner, that how everybody who has been born, who is a child of God, must have the benefits of the progress of the country. He should not be discriminated against. There should not be any political hegemony over certain group of people, that no, these people would be ousted and these people would be kept. So therefore, the constitution is there to keep everybody in the right perspective. And basic features also of the constitution, Mr. Saxena has talked, so therefore I will not be talking much about that. And in the end, I will only say, you see, the point is, there is an old saying, dharmo rakshati rakshata. If you protect the dharma will protect you. And dharma is, again, I will say, duty. If you do your duty towards other people, that is almost also enshrined in the, normally we say DPSP, that is the directive principles of the state policy and your fundamental duties. If you adhere to your fundamental duties, if you are, you see, talking about rights is one thing, that you will automatically get. If you do not get, the doors of the courts are always open to you. But then you must also realize that whether your right does infringe your duty also. And as a citizen, as a lawyer and as a judge, we have to reconcile all these delicate balances. So the constitution, according to me, you see, is a very lively thing. It may be a boring subject for discussion, but otherwise it is a lively thing. And the day you are born and the day you die, and even after you die, the constitution will always be behind your back, and ultimately there is no vacuum. Somebody else will fill in your shoes, and ultimately everybody will have to turn towards the constitution and interpret the same in the most holistic manner. Thank you.